Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the new Audi S5. We already looked at the standard A5 and now we can compare it to the S5. This is kind of the car that is supposed to be between the A5 and also the RS5, the car that higher class people or people that have a business want to drive to their work and then also go to their meetings, but still not look like they're driving a car that's too competitive or sporty, but you still got something under the bonnet you can have fun with after work. But yeah, that's kind of what this car is. In my opinion, a really good looking car and one of the better designs that Audi has brought out from the new models. And let's start off with the design here in the front. We can see we get this grille, which has these elements which you get in the S lines or also in the S models. These black kind of fins up on the top here. We get the new Audi logo in the center. The big single frame here, interrupted by one slice here in the center with a body color, and then another grille on the bottom with also a sensor in the center. We get our new headlights, which have 8 or 7 different design elements. Let's see if I close the car. We can see our matrix LED lights doing that animation here, hopefully. There you go. We can see all these individual pixels where you can design everything, and you can see some of them will illuminate differently here at some points. One thing I'm always not a big fan of the A4s and stuff like that is this big section right here, because you have this black touch which just completely interrupts the design in my opinion. Air curtain right here. The color on here is also the Grenadier red color for 990 euros extra. In my opinion, a really good looking car. In the configurator it didn't look as good as it does in real life. Starting price of the new Audi S5 is around 15,000 euros more expensive than the previous S4, because that's basically this car. You can pick up the Audi S5 in the Avant or in the limousine variant. Limousine around 2,000 euros cheaper. This one around 80,000 euros as a starting point. And the test vehicle here around 99,000 euros, so quite a lot of extra. And we'll talk about the price here in a second, or also in our verdict, because that's one thing I am going to complain a little bit about, because it is quite expensive in my opinion. And let's look at what we get under the hood of the Audi S5 B10. We still got a 3-liter V6 engine producing 367 horsepower now with 550 Newton meters, 0 to 100, 4.5 seconds, and a top speed of 250 kilometers, which is electrically limited. We do have a twin-scroll turbo in here, which is quite nice, and we also have a mild hybrid plus system, which is basically a 48-volt system, which will allow you to get just lower consumption and also full electric driving capabilities in the stop and go traffic, which will also have another 24 horsepower on top of it. But yeah, that's going to be connected to the main drive shaft of this car, and therefore you can actually drive it in full EV at some points, and you will also be able to park this car completely autonomous with EV driving, so you don't have to turn on the combustion engine for that. And let's very quickly do our sound check to see how these quad exhaust pipes, which are all real, which is a nice thing, sound like with that 3-liter V6. In my opinion, in the stand, it doesn't sound too nice, but when you're driving and go past the camera, for instance, it sounds really nice. Maybe we'll put some shots in here while we're driving past. Sounds quite decent. In the back, we get this new OLED rear light section, which you can also pick up a non-OLED rear light section. But let's see again if I can show you the animation here. If I now close the car, if I open it now, there we go, does the animation, and you can see all these little pixels which are animated in there, looking quite nice in my opinion. And if you also, instance, drive up too close to the car in front, or this car now, you will have all the lights here illuminated, and when you put on your traffic lights, your hazard lights, it will also have like this hazard sign in it, which is pretty cool. New Audi logo on the back, rear tinted window, a little bit of a spoiler on the top, and this kind of fake diffuser on the bottom. We do also have a towing hook, not a towing hook, well, we do have one, but an electrical tailgate, that's what I meant to say. 448 liters up to 1,396 liters, which is going to be a little bit less than the previous Audi S4. You can see here, however, still plenty of space. We can also flip over the rear seats with this lever in the back here. The seats in front are a little bit too far back, therefore it's not going to flip all the way back. But we also have this net section here, but not really any storage space below it, so you can't flip anything up, but still, in my opinion, quite a decent space. Even though the car has grown in size, you have less storage space in the back. We do also have electrical, like semi-electrical towing hook, which you do have to pick up extra. So you can see here, you're gonna have to rest it in, but let me quickly do it. You can tow up to 2.1 tons, which is quite nice. And you can obviously also flip it back in. With the S5, that's always quite nice. You do have a towing capacity, which you can tow some big stuff behind you. So let's talk about the price and also the competitors here. I said the car is quite expensive. Always depends on obviously what you pick up with the variant. We have, for instance, a Tech Pro in here, which you don't typically obviously need, 6,150 euros. We have the MMI Experience Pro for 2,280. The panoramic window, which you definitely don't need in my opinion, because you can't open it as well, 2,100, or some other things like the Interior S with the sport seats for 2,513, which however is a quite nice option. But I said it is quite expensive. Well, if you look at the competitors, they're not much better, to be honest, when it comes to the price. Just nowadays, that's where cars are going to be in the price. When it comes to German competitors, BMW M340i, that's going to start at 77,900 euros, so a little bit cheaper. And if you configure it to the same kind of way it looks here, almost with the same equipments, you are going to be looking at a car that's going to be a little bit cheaper. However, it gets a little bit more horsepower with 392 horsepower. Same, however, 0 to 100 value, 4.5 seconds, and that car is going to be a little bit less comfortable in a city traffic and stuff like that. Then you also have the AMG C43 AMG, starting price of 86,000 euros with 421 horsepower, so a little bit more, however, quite a big jump. So this is kind of in the middle of those competitors, so the price isn't even too bad, but in my opinion, it's still quite expensive considering the S4 was so much cheaper. Let's talk about the dimensions of the car. It's going to be 4 meters and 83 long, 1 meter and 86 wide, without the side mirrors extended, with them 2 meters and 10 centimeters, and 1 meter and 44 tall, with 2 meter and 89 centimeters of wheelbase, with also a turning circle of 12.1 meters. The car has also gotten quite a lot heavier. It's now looking at 2 tons and 40 kilograms, so quite heavy. But there's also a couple other changes we'll talk about in a second, which make this car actually quite agile and very, very fun to drive with a good balance. Fuel capacity here, 56 liters with a WLTP between 7.6 up to 8 liters. So you're looking at around 700 kilometers of max range that you can get from this car. We also have our tires on here. Let's go on the rims here on the front, which are these optional ones. They do actually fit quite decent to the car in my opinion, but personally I wouldn't pick them up. I'd pick up some darker ones, but they do look pretty good with also our black brake calipers, 245s in the front and 245s in the back. When it comes to the door handles here, they have now gotten these new design, just like in the new Audi models, where you have your keyless entry and exit here on the side, so you can lock the car when you put your hand there and open it. But you don't really have any feeling, like a hatch feeling like you typically get from your door handles. Tinted rear windows and also Audi S5 Avant TFSI Quattro here on the side. Side skirt on the bottom with that black design looking quite nice, and also automatically foldable side mirrors, which get a new design, which look fairly chunky. We'll see that in the inside. We do also have that adaptive S Sport chassis that you can pick up for the Audi S5. That is going to allow you to get different drive modes and also allow you to just individualize it a little bit more and add a little bit more of sporty feeling to it. And the normal A5 is also going to be 20 millimeters higher than the standard S5. And join me in the back now, where the seat in front of me is adjusted to me. I'm 5'11" or 1 meter and 80 tall. Seat is not squishy at all, so I can't really put my knees in there, penetrate the seat a little bit. It's not going to work. Feet is actually quite decent here when it comes to the space I get there. Quite a big center tunnel, so sitting in here with 5 people is going to be a little bit of a hassle because you're going to have to fight over your feet. Space, 2 USB-Cs on top, own climatization here, so climate zone, and also heated seats for the outermost rear seats. When it comes to the headspace, because of that panoramic window, I actually get quite a lot of headspace, around 10 centimeters of space there, if I sit all the way up straight. We do have that interior S-line with the leather option in here, and that does look quite nice with also these white stitching in here. Our ISOFIX points are quite easy to get to, and that's going to allow you to have no problem putting your child seats in here. Let's look at the quality here on the side, because for 100,000 euros, top is good. We have the optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. However, that is also plastic. That's not even metal. It looks metal, but I mean, it's scratchy plastic. Good material here. However, again, plastic right there, and even here, like why, and all the way on the bottom. So really, for 100,000 euros, not good quality. And also all of the door sides here is going to be in plastic. Again, not the highest. And well, where's your money gone for 100,000 euros in the quality wise in the inside? Audi can definitely do better for that price. We also have 2 cup holders here in the center and also a center tunnel, which you can flip over. So you allow to get some skis through there. So for the 0 to 100 test, I've put the car into dynamic, and I'm gonna turn off traction control all the way. So hold it down for a couple of seconds, and then we should be able to get some launch control. So 4.5 is claimed. I think we're gonna get a little bit less. That initial punch is insane. What? Okay, 4.51 exactly. I mean, that's perfect, but that initial punch just completely threw me away, like off guard a little bit, because that was insane. What? Like, the way it just kicked up was very, very good, and I did not expect that from a car that claimed 4.5 seconds to have such a big initial punch. That was really, really impressive. And now join me in the inside of the Audi S5. You can see, looks quite similar to all of the other Audi models. Well, that's nothing new. Electrical seats here and also electrical steering wheel, which goes down. And then you can see here I can adjust it electrically. Digital cockpit, infotainment display, and also with the Tech Pro and also the Tech variant below that, you get a display for your passenger. Inductive charging space, 2 USB-Cs, climatization right here. However, climatization is done through the seat. Heated and also ventilated seats with also a massage function, so quite nice. We get storage space in the center here, but not too much. 2 cup holders and also quick bind here, so you can turn off your e-warning assistant, which is right in there. Infotainment display works quite easy and well. There's no issues when it comes to lagging and stuff like that. Haven't experienced anything with that. Quality is okay. Like I said, again, here in the front it's a little bit better than in the back, but for instance stuff like this, hollow plastic below that. Up on the top here, decent quality. So it's not bad, but it's just it's not as high quality as you're known from Audi from previous generation and stuff like that, in my opinion. But I don't think we're going to talk too much about it here. So let's go heads-up display. Let's go start the car. You're gonna see. Wow, I just started the car and there's no sound. Well, because of that mild hybrid system. Let's see how far we can actually go here without it turning on combustion engine. Let me also quickly go into reverse camera, so you can see 360-degree camera. We do also have something, if you have a towing hook in there, you can, for instance, see your trailer on there. And there's some other stuff like parking assistance, stuff like that. But the thing about that mild hybrid system is it's actually quite nice when you're going in the city, because you will notice lots of times when you're driving in the city, it's going to go in full EV mode. There, that engine turned on, which is nice, because that's going to allow you to actually have the smoothness of stop and go traffic, where you're just driving an EV. You don't have that little bit of a kick you get from a combustion engine. You're just driving full EV, and therefore actually quite comfortable, and also lowers the consumption. In terms of consumption, this one currently 16.7 liters, because my colleague just did his review and he was driving a little bit more sporty. The total, actually, can I see the total anywhere? There it is. So over the last 1,570 kilometers, we have had a consumption of 10.6 liters, so a little bit higher than what is claimed. So you get around 570 kilometers, which is also quite accurate to what is said here. Well, not quite accurate. This would mean around 460 kilometers when the car is full. You get a little bit more, but we've been driving the car sporty. When you have an S5 standing here for 2 weeks, you don't really have the option to drive it non-sporty. And I think that's what we're going to do right away here. Let's go into the drive mode, go into dynamic. You can hear valves are going to open, and it just sounds quite nice as well, and the kick is definitely given. So 4.5 seconds is good. And one of the main changes now for the gearbox, for instance, is also having to do with the gearbox, because the gearbox now is going to be no longer an 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox. Now it is going to be a DSG gearbox, or a dual clutch gearbox, a 7-speed one, which is the S-Tronic, and that is really fast. I'm going to show you in a second when I'm shifting up, for instance. It's a really fast gearbox and really nice. You do only, however, now get 7 speeds instead of 8, which is not a bad thing. But when you're driving in city here, you can hear again, even in dynamic, it's going to go into EV. Right now, I'm driving an EV. You can hear that little bit of hiss that you get from an EV, which is nice. Suspension here, when we're driving in the city, let's go back into comfort, does a good job with that adaptive suspension to smoothen the bumps out and enjoy a little bit of a longer distance ride here, even in the city with some quite bumpy roads here. It's not going to hurt your back or anything like that, but you will definitely notice that there is a bump. But that's the nice thing with the adaptive suspension. You can change it between really sporty driving and dynamic, allowing you to just in dynamic feel the road a lot more. When you're driving here in the city, you will notice sometimes, okay, it's going to lurch a little bit forward with that torque delivery, so you are going to have a little bit of jerking movement. However, only when that engine occasionally kicks up. If you're, for instance, at a steeper hill, then it's going to kick in. Otherwise, that is completely eliminated because of that initial EV push, which is quite nice. Turning circle of 12.2 meters in the city is not going to be the easiest to then maneuver, but it's still quite okay, especially finding parking spots. 360 view camera, blind spot assistant. Rear view is quite small. You have a fairly limited, you can see here, limited rear window. And also the ABC pillar is quite big, which is nice because you also have that window. Well, it's not big, but you have that window in there making it smaller. That's what I meant to say. Let's go back into the, that's the wrong button, drives mode, and go into dynamic and just see the punch here from 40 up to 100 going uphill. It kicks you back to the seat. I mean, that is quite nice. And that's just to shift up here. I just want to show you the gearbox. I mean, that is quite quick. Shift down again, shift up. It's really quick, and that's what I like about this. It's a very responsive gearbox, and the throttle sensitivity is also quite nice. Brakes are also very well managed here in terms of how much you're going to have to input them and just control your input. It is really well done. And what I really love about this is the chassis control in this car. The body lean and stuff like that is really eliminated and making it very, very agile. And you just want to get this car punched out of here with a lot of speed. We did cruise a little bit on the Autobahn, and if you just put it into comfort at those speeds, it's really, really comfortable to drive. 140, between 140 up to 160. 8.7 liters is kind of what you're averaging if you're driving in comfort and just having a fairly open road, which is always quite decent. But I mean, I love how responsive it is in dynamic mode. It's just always going to stay quite at high RPMs. If I do now here, kick down, it is quite quick, even at higher speeds, and that's exactly what you want from an Audi S6, S4, S5, geez. You just want that throttle responsive, even at higher speeds when you're driving on the Autobahn, because you want to be able to overtake, drive at higher speeds. It's exactly what this car is meant for, and I think that it does a really good job. With those twin scroll turbos, it does a really good job of being able to get that punch even at higher speeds. Bicycle drivers here, we're gonna have to overtake them real quick. Not accelerate too quick, but even there, it's like 20% gas pedal input, and it does a really good job. So what is my final verdict on the Audi S5? I really do like the design in the back, and the front obviously also looks quite decent in my opinion. The driving characteristics of this car are very, very fun. In my opinion, I'd like a little bit more sound from the outside, especially when you're standing. When you're driving, I think it is quite decent. And I mean, most of the people that buy an S5, they don't want too much sound, because they still want to have that comfort when going over longer distance or taking clients in the back of the car, for instance. But as soon as you go into dynamic, the valves open and it sounds quite decent in my opinion. Quality in the inside could definitely use a little bit of an improvement in my opinion. For 100,000 euros, I would expect a little bit more from Audi there. But otherwise, I think it is a very fantastic car when it comes to the driving performance and also the engine, just the way it works with the mild hybrid system there. Quite a nice job. What do you think of the new Audi S5? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.